Forgiveness is a very big topic in our healing process, especially when we have to forgive ourselves and others, but especially ourselves. And that's mostly in situation in which we're not the victim. Yeah, it's rather hard to swallow that and accept that. So what can you do? How can you get to the place of actually forgiving yourself despite being in the wrong? Let's talk about it. Welcome to Fatmata Speaks. Before we talk about how to go on about it, we have to talk about two things. One is we have to talk about our childhood. Actually, both of them pertain to childhood, but one talks about the aspect of how did the adults in your life back then react to you when you did something wrong? Were you punished? Were you sent in the corner? Were you sent to your room? Were you screamed at? Did you have like a normal conversation in which they explained to you why that action was wrong or why that action was not appropriate? It all depends on that, because if you had a healthy conversation or healthy reaction, which look differently for each and every one of us, then it's much more easier to come to terms with it when you did something wrong when you're grown up, because we tend to replicate the same pattern. So yeah, you have to look into that, because depending on the reaction, you might have difficulty embracing being in the wrong. The second thing to look out for is how did the adults react when they did something wrong to you? How did they cope with it? And how did they make you feel about being the victim? This one helps us figure out how we cope, how we deal with it, and how we react to being wrong. Because if as a child, when adults were wrong, obviously, and they just dismissed your pain, your experience, or just talk it small, then most likely as an adult you do the same, because it's much more easier to escape from taking accountability than to actually accept the fact that you were wrong. So if you look at these two things, these two questions, and you can answer it in a positive light, then I will say congratulations, you have a healthy take on being wrong. But if the answer is unfortunately negative, then we have to reparent. How to reparent yourself, that's a video for another day, because that's a huge topic. Once you figure out the patterns amongst those two questions, you can either develop a new pattern, and that could ease the process of forgiving ourselves. So those two things, we need to look at them before jumping into properly healing ourselves and properly forgiving ourselves. But now let's talk about the actual steps that could lead to you forgiving yourself when you are in the wrong. Of course, this all depends on the type of wrong that we're talking about. Certain type of wrongs, we just have to come to terms with it. It doesn't matter which type, to be honest. We just have to come to terms with it. Well, yeah, these are just suggestions. You don't have to take it. You can just leave it as it is. It's all fine. And the steps that I have written down, some of them are basically mindsets. So basically you have to just shift your mindset. And some of them are actually actions that you can undertake to fix it. Okay, let's jump into it. The first tip is a mindset one. And that is, you have to accept that you're not a saint. You're not always good, and that is okay. You're not always right, and that is okay. Because Because you have shadows, aspects of your personality. You have wounds that you have not yet looked at. And yes, we can act out, unfortunately, in not a pleasant way. And that's something we just have to accept. Because life is full of roles. We're not always the saint. We're not always the victim. We're not always the Madonna. It's just certain situations, they pulled out certain aspects of ourselves. And this doesn't mean you have to be nasty towards someone else willfully, no. But it's just roles. And when we interact with someone, there's so much we don't see regarding them, and there's so much some of us don't know about ourselves. So when we interact, we have nuances, and it's okay. Accepting that you're not a saint and that you play a role and that the role changes depending on the situation, that's the first step actually to heal yourself, because it provides you with perspectives. And sometimes we do need perspectives. We're not always the victim. Sometimes we are the culprit, and it's okay. Because the roles that we take, it depends on our needs, the person we're interacting, their needs. It depends on our level of maturity and their level of maturity. It depends on their willingness to compromise and your willingness to compromise. It also depends on your history as well as their history. There's a lot at play, and we cannot always control those variables. So yes, it can happen that you can hurt someone, and it can happen really fast. As long as you don't willfully plan it, it's just, I would say that just belongs to life, as long as you're not willfully planning it. If you're willfully planning it, then please seek help, because that's indicating something else. But if it's just through interaction that something happens, then it's life. It's just part of it. And I believe that the fact that we're capable of playing different roles in different situations, it makes us whole as a human. And that is a relief, because we are not, how do you call it, 2D, 3D? We're multidimensional, we're multi-layered, and that's a good thing. So after accepting that the deed happened, we should now try to accept the fact that the deed happened in the past, and it's unfortunate that we cannot, we haven't yet figured out how to time travel or jump timelines to go back to those incidents, those days, and then fix it. So we cannot change it, basically. We have to accept the fact that we cannot change the past. However, we can make amends in the present. And therefore, what we should look at, well, we should look at the deeds, plus we should look at the consequences that comes from it. And that is the thing you can actually fix, the consequences. That's the thing you can work with. The past, you can work with it in certain extent, but not as you would like it to be, because you cannot undo it. So after accepting the fact that you're not a saint, that you have played roles, you should accept the fact that you cannot change what already happened. And therefore, just brace yourself for the consequences and don't beat yourself up. Please, don't beat yourself up. So now, how do we make amends for it? Well, simple. Ask for forgiveness. Ask for forgiveness, but don't expect it. Why? Because the victim, the other person, they're going to need time to adjust to this new reality that you have brought forth. And you have to give them that time. I know, to sit with that emotion that you did something wrong to someone, it's not pleasant. But that's something you have to deal with. But when you ask for forgiveness, you just putting it out there. If they forgive you, that's their own. That's for them to do, not for you to take on. So ask for forgiveness. I believe that there are two ways we can ask for forgiveness. One is to directly go up to the person and be like, hey, hi, this and this happened. I'm sorry that this came out this way and blah, blah, blah. And don't expect the forgiveness as well. But be upfront and just admit to it. That's the first way to do it. The second way to do it, this only applies, I believe, when the person either is not in your surrounding anymore and you have no way to contact them. So basically, either they moved away or they died. Or the person isn't aware of it, that you did something wrong to them. Because some people, their level of awareness is really low. Or maybe they don't see it as a big deal. But for you, it's a big deal. So you want to make amends for that. In such cases, I suggest that you meditate. You sit down. You don't have to get into a yoga position or anything. No, you can just sit down, be still, and speak it out as up. Sorry, German. Speak it out as if that person is standing in front of you, and apologize. I believe that on a soul level, we can apologize and make amends by doing that, by speaking it out loud, setting out the intention. And if you can actually meditate and get in the zone, you can do it there as well. I believe it works on both levels. So yeah, ask for help. No, ask for forgiveness on both levels. You can do it. So don't shrink from asking for forgiveness, because that's one way that helps you to forgive yourself. So you have to do it. Don't shrink away from it. Do it. So the next step is a mindset one, and that is, don't judge yourself. Please stop judging yourself for your past mistakes. It's already happened. It's done. And you always have to think about it like this. If you knew what you know today. If you knew what you knew today, yesterday could have been avoided. But since you didn't know what you know today, yesterday happened. It is what it is. It's unfair to get sucked in the trap of just keep blaming ourselves, because if we keep doing that, then we're missing a huge opportunity. Let me tell you which opportunity that is. When you're in the wrong, right, you get a chance to do two things. And that is, you get a chance to see how imbalanced your inner wall is. Because hurt people hurt people. There's truth to that saying. So if you allow this mistake to show you, to hold up the mirror for you, you get to see why and what constituted to get you to that position to actually carry out that particular missteps, or those particular missteps. But that only happens when you actually give yourself a chance to see your inner world. The other thing that you get to see when you took a misstep is, you get to see how much weight your values, your words, your action carries, and how much that affects other people. I believe if you use those two advantages to the best as you can, you will come out as a bigger person out of this. You will come out as a bigger person. Because hurt people, yes. But by taking a look in the mirror and understanding the weight of your action, words, and values, you get to stop the cycle. And you get to bring new energy into the world. And with your knowledge, you could even help others to stop that cycle as well. And the more people allow themselves to actually learn the lesson the lesser opportunity we'll have to actually hurt others. So I believe, yes, it's unfortunate and it's a very unpleasant position to be when you hurt someone. But if you give yourself the chance to take on the lessons, you can create a bigger impact. And I think creating a bigger impact in a positive light weighs more than blaming yourself. It really does. So allow yourself to do that. So those were the steps. And there's one more thing. One more thing we always have to keep in mind when we are trying to forgive ourselves. And that is, do not let shame be part of that equation. Because shame is going to hold us back. Shame is going to stop us from taking any constructive steps. So don't let shame into that equation. It does us nothing good. It makes the thing bigger, and then we don't get to stop the circle, and we keep on repeating the same mistakes. Or worse, we keep on blaming ourselves again and again and again, and that reduces your life quality. It really does, and that's not good, because holding certain energy within our body, it causes disease, discomfort, and they come out in ways that sometimes it's huge. It's huge, and it's not in a good way. So when you're trying to forgive yourself, when you're trying to walk through a certain incident, please do not let shame sit themselves in that equation. It does nothing. And always remember, unless you have your memories of your past life, unless you have lived this life in the same pattern before, you're living this for the first time. If you have lived this life before, then yes, this is your second rodeo. Then you know exactly what to change, how to change it. But if that's not the case, then this is your first ride. So be lenient towards yourself. Don't be hard towards yourself. Be kind. Be kind. Bye.